It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. We were talking about the Dodgers winning back-to-back World Series championships and whether or not it's a good thing for baseball that they're the favorite once again, that there's a villain, there's a team that we can all point at and say they're the best team in baseball, and everyone can set their sights on taking down the Los Angeles Dodgers. Russell Dorsey covers Major League Baseball for Yahoo Sports. You can also see him on the MLB Network and Apple TV. And now he joins Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Russell, do you think it's good for baseball that the Dodgers are now trying to win their third championship in a row?
What's going on, guys? I do
man?
think it is from the standpoint of I'm a big sports fan like you guys both are, and I do think sports is better when there's a villain. I do think there are, unlike other teams that have been villains in the past, there are likable individuals on that Dodgers team. And for me, they're an interesting team to cover from a standpoint of with as many superstars as they have. They are very much a go with the flow kind of team. Like there's not a guy that's like, no, it's me and then it's everybody else. It seems like when guys sign there, it's like, okay, the whole is better than the sum of the parts. And for us to get where we want to go, I have to take the ego part out of it. But they are extremely talented. Do I think it's the best thing for baseball? I think that's where some of the debate can be. I think it has created a lot of conversation, and there will be a lot of intrigue and things to talk about ahead of the collective bargaining agreement expiring on December 1st. Now, do I think if the Toronto Blue Jays defeat the Dodgers last year in the World Series in Game 7 like they probably should have, do I think it is people feel differently? I do, because I think that people would have said, okay, somebody was able to cut off the head of the snake. But now you look at it and say, will this team really win 3 consecutive World Series titles? And I think that's what probably scares some baseball fans out there.
Do you think that we should – I'm not saying that people don't appreciate Shohei Ohtani, but unless you're basically a bitter rival of the LA Dodgers, that people aren't appreciating Shohei Ohtani as much as we should, that we're watching arguably the best baseball player of all time, and that we should be just marveling at what we see every single day, day in and day out?
Man, I think so sometimes. Like, I really do. I have seen that guy do insane things, and I don't even live in LA and cover the Dodgers exclusively. Just in my times covering him, he has hit a ball out of Dodger Stadium completely. I've seen him hit 3 homers in a game and punch out 10 to punch the Dodgers' ticket to the World Series. He's hit a ball 120 off the bat, and then he also had a 5-for-5 game to go 50-50. Like, when there's a moment to rise to the occasion, he just knows how to do it. And I think that's something that we appreciate about superstars is when the lights are the brightest, they show up. And I think the thing with Shohei, ever since he's kind of taken the mantle as the best player in the world, when those moments have happened and the benefit of him going from the Angels to the Dodgers, where he's going to be under the bright lights all the time in the big moments, in the postseason, in the World Series, is we've seen that out of him. And so I don't think we always appreciate how good that guy is. Like, what he's able to do is insane. Like, he can go out there, hit 50 homers. Yesterday in his last spring training start in 4 innings, he punched out 11. Like, that guy is insane. And he's one of those players, like, if you wanted to create a guy on MLB The Show, you would create Shohei Ohtani. That's how good he is.
Russell Dorsey hanging out with Bleck Abdalla, talking baseball here on Westwood One Sports. Yeah, I mean, the thing on Shohei is it does feel like, Russell, because we all have an opinion with social media now, we want to say everything's the greatest. This is the best game, the best finish. This is the best play. And to Adam's point, it feels like Shohei Ohtani is the one athlete that when we look at the way we talk about said situation or the play, it's like, I don't know if we're selling hard enough, how we're seeing an all-time great, and we're seeing, for comparison to basketball, Michael Jordan level stuff in real time. And so I think that's what is a lot of fun about following along with the Dodgers and following along with Shohei Ohtani. I do want to ask you about this, Russell, is tonight you have the Yankees and the Giants opening the season on Netflix. In the AL East, you mentioned the Blue Jays losing 7 games to the Dodgers in the World Series. You had the Red Sox make the playoffs as well, and the Yankees get to the ALDS and lose to the Blue Jays, and they play tonight. How do you view the AL East as far as the way it will finish up this season?
It's going to be a tough one because I look at the Toronto Blue Jays and they, to me, were the best team in Major League Baseball last year, and they didn't win the World Series. Like it went down to 7 games and extra innings in the 7th game for the Dodgers to beat them, and I just think that goes to show you how good they were. And they improved this offseason, right? They added starting pitching, they added Cody Ponce, they added Dylan Cease, they added Kazuma Akamoto, free agent from Japan, and you still have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who is one of the best players in Major League Baseball. They are extremely talented, and I think it's going to be a challenge for the New York Yankees, who didn't really do much this offseason. They kind of just said, all right, we're going to run it back, and if we're healthy, we should be right there in the mix in the American League. But I don't know if that's going to be enough if the Blue Jays play the way I think the Blue Jays are going to play this year. And you also have the Boston Red Sox that are a talented team. You also have the Baltimore Orioles who said, you know what, we're going to add Pete Alonso to this thing. We're going to add a little bit of starting pitching. And with the young talent that we have after disappointing for a couple of years, that's going to be a team that's not going to be an easy out throughout the season either. So it's going to be a bloodbath in the AL East. But if I had to pick a team right now, I would say I'm still going with the Toronto Blue Jays to be that team.
Russell, the biggest change to the baseball season this year is going to be the ABS system for fans that didn't watch during spring training. How much of an adjustment is that going to be for fans watching the game? And more importantly, how much of a change is it going to be for pitchers, for hitters, and for managers who don't really have control over when their players can use this system during games?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of conversations about, hey, man, like we only have a certain amount of these. Let's just kind of be smart about how we utilize these and be absolutely sure. And I think that's going to be a fun part about the first couple months of the season is seeing the guys who have a lot of success with it and the guys who don't. And it's like, all right, we're going to give you the stop sign using the challenge system. But I think it's probably going to be a bigger adjustment for the viewing audience of baseball, right? Because it's different. It's like, all right, guy taps his helmet or catcher taps his helmet, pitcher taps his cap and says they want a review. It's going to be really quick. It's really simple. People have seen throughout spring training. But I would compare it to what the replay system in tennis has been, right? Where, you ask for the review, it comes up real quick on the screen, and then boom, we're back in action. I think it's something that will be good for getting calls correct. That adds also a new little wrinkle to the game.
Russell Dorsey talking baseball with Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. A team that I watched last year that was a lot of fun to kind of follow throughout the season was the Seattle Mariners. What do you see from the Mariners heading into this year?
Yeah, like they are a team that was also right there, just a couple of, one game away from getting to the World Series for the first time in their franchise's history. And you had the phenomenal year out of Cal Raleigh, hitting 60 homers, most homers ever by a catcher, most homers ever by a switch hitter. They bring in Josh Naylor. He fit in with that group there and signed a long-term deal in the offseason to keep him in Seattle. You have Julio Rodriguez, who is one of the budding young stars in Major League Baseball. And then they're starting pitching, which by many is the best collective rotation still in Major League Baseball when they're firing on all cylinders. That's a really good team. And that should also still be a really good team here in 2026. I think the thing when you have special seasons like the one that they had, and you guys know this as well, sometimes, every team isn't the same. And sometimes the mojo that you had in one year doesn't necessarily carry over to the next. But talent usually translates. So they're still extremely talented. I think the one thing with the Mariners is that you didn't have to, for the first time in almost a decade, deal with the Houston Astros as a thorn in your side in the AL West. And if the Astros are healthy, it's going to be a fight there in the AL West, but it should be still really exciting to see those two teams duke it out for seeing who the best team in that division is going to be.
Baseball is in a great place right now. We talked about how awesome Shohei Ohtani is.
Oh, no.
Coming off the World Baseball Classic, how awesome that was. for the game, a ton of great young players that are representing the game well, all these great young teams.
People are watching. Ratings are up.
There's all these
are.
different there's like 10
Baseball's fun.
10 different places, and yet there's this Michael Myers just stalking you from behind.
From Halloween.
From Halloween.
Yes.
And at the end of the year, you mentioned it, this collective bargaining agreement that is, a lot of people think that their worst case scenario, there just might not be baseball next year. What do you think is going to happen? Is that actually on the table? Do you think there might actually not be a season next year?
So you guys are 100% correct in terms of where baseball sits. I actually talked about it on my podcast yesterday because, as somebody who covers baseball and sees, the star power, the stories that I get to tell, the guys that I get to talk to, the viewership is up. People going to the ballpark is up. Like, baseball honestly is in the best place it's been in 20 years, right? You have the guy who might be the greatest player in the history of the sport, in Shohei Ohtani, in his prime, playing for one of the sport's biggest teams, and is a marketing darling. He's also, Japanese, and so you get the global appeal of like what Ken Griffey Jr. was, and now you add the global appeal to it. Like, that's fantastic. And then on the other coast, you have Aaron Judge, who's turned himself into one of the best right-handed hitters we've seen since Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols. So for all those reasons, baseball is in an amazing spot. I think the downside is that there are a lot of things that have to be hashed out between the league ownership and then the Players Association. And it's one of those things where if you just sit down and think about it, you're like, man, there are too many good things to happen for there not to be baseball. However, I think I understand how these things go, and both sides feel like they gave up a lot after the last collective bargaining agreement was agreed upon in 2022. And I think both sides have kind of been prepared for the last couple of years. And from people I've talked to on both sides, they're like, nah, everybody's preparing for a fight. I think when you prepare for a fight, that's where that fear and that dark cloud looming over the season comes from. And I think it's fair. And I think people should be concerned. And look, guys, I'm a guy that I make a living in baseball. Like, if there's no baseball, that's not great for me. That's not great for a lot of people in the industry. Do I think there's going to be zero baseball next season? No. I think there will be baseball next season. I guess the billion-dollar question is, how much baseball do we get in 2027?
Yeah, right. Like, the question, Russell, is, the question is, will we have opening day at this time next year? Or will opening day be in June? You know what I'm saying? Is that what we're going to see?
If I had to take an educated guess on a day, as of right now, as we sit, I wouldn't say we're going to have a normal opening day next year that starts on, March 27, 28, 2027. I would imagine it probably gets pushed back just to give yourself some time, because you're still going to need, a spring training of sorts to get guys prepared, to get pitchers prepared, etc. If I'm going to say between April 15th and May 1st next year is opening day.
All right, that's not okay.
That's not
horrible.
horrible.
If I just had to look into my crystal ball and say, all right, there's going to be negotiations that are had, there's going to be a work stoppage, but just how long does that go? I'm going to say we have I can't wait for opening day, baseball's back tweets on May 1st, 2027.
And honestly, being in Chicago, can we negotiate that being regular opening day? Just because
for the weather?
Can we not have March opening
days?
There's
probably some people that are going to say, hey,
play in the
the
South.
season should be shorter anyway. I'm not, I'm kind of on board with this as a normal thing.
Thank you, Russell. Check out Russell's podcast on YouTube at Russell Dorsey. You can follow Russ Dorsey right there on YouTube. The new podcast is up. Thank you, Russell. Enjoy opening night and opening day tomorrow. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys. You guys as well.